Are you having a hard time competing with the 2021 sound? Going into 2022, 2023, we're going to be getting these massive records and the technology just keeps moving. And what do? I'm going to give you 3 tips for a better master to compete in the modern market. So let's get right into it in this mix series. So first of all, if you're here already, you know what the mix series is. You've been here before. You know that this is all made for you guys to help you make better records that are going to be market viable out in the world, making money and getting heard and streamed, played over and over and over again, right? So if you like these mix tips and these mix series, please like the video, drop a comment, and show a little love. That way we can keep doing them. That's the only way we'll keep doing them. You got to show that love. All right, now let's get right into it. 3 massive things that I use to get modern masters. Okay, number 1, and the most overlooked thing, I think, is that you do not want to be relying so heavily on the master bus chain, right? A lot of artists, mixers, producers, whatever, they're trying to like slam their master bus. They're doing like, 12 dB of compression, 15 dB. They're throwing isotope on it. And they can't figure out why it sounds like absolute garbage balls, shithole sucks. It sucks! The first thing you want to do is you want to think about this as like a cityscape. If you have all your individual elements of your drum set or your trap drums, right? You got your hi-hats, your kick, your snare, your claps, maybe your little tom thing that's doing little syncopation. You want to take all that and think about it as like that's its own little city batch, right? And then you want to bring them to a subgroup, and that's going to be it's going to be the bigger form of your cityscape, right? So what we want to do, if you want the record loud and proud and big and dynamic and punchy, is we want to sort of stem master. So we call it stem mastering. It's used a lot in orchestral music for score and film and stuff. And the reason being is because we have to deliver stems to the stage that are going to translate. If the editor wants to take the strings and the horns and the drums and they want to take things out and in, they don't want the mix to change that they got, the final delivery. So we have to use subgroups. Let me show you on the screen instead of talking about it. So for my drum mix here, as you can see, I have an actual drum mix bus that has a ton of stuff on it, but then it goes to a drum mastering bus, which has compression, R-bass, black box design, L3 maximizer, right? That's a limiter, right? And then track spacer, which is just kind of dipping areas for the vocals and everything else. But you have to understand every single drum might have, for example, the kick and the 808 might have processing on it. And then it goes to this subgroup of the drum mix, and then it goes to the drum master, and then it goes to the master bus. And by doing this, I can really make everything sound big and fat and punchy right from the get-go instead of having to rely on a bunch of limiting on the master bus. Okay? So that's your first tip. Use subgroups and use stem mastering. Think about it as like my drums. They're going to be like this, and I'm going to shape them, and I'm going to sculpt them, and then I'm going to let them hit really hard, and like I'm going to limit them, and I'm going to get as much as I can out of them. Now I'm going to put my vocals in, and I'm going to have them just a little bit above that, right? And you start to carve this little landscape of things that are just a little bit apart from each other. And that way, when you go to the mastering bus, you have this mix that's already loud and proud and dynamic in how you like it to be. And you're just doing the final tweaks and touches and gloss on the master, right? You're not slamming the crap out of it. All right, so hopefully you stick with me right now. You're in this, you got this, you understand what I'm saying. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. Happy to answer those questions for you. Now, the second thing is stop measuring LUFs. You guys are so like caught up in the YouTuber world. And of course, you're watching this on YouTube, which is really funny because I'm even saying that. But you're so caught up in like 5 tips to this, 2 tips to this, etc. And I understand this is 3 tips to making your mixes more competitive in today's mastering world. But you have to understand LUFs is just a measurement of the mid-range. It's the measurement of how loud the vocals are. Every single song is different. Okay? if you have a punk rock song and it's just like going loud and proud and it's bright and aggressive and distorted, it's going to have higher and really mid-range heavy. It's going to have higher LUFs than, let's say, a trap record or an R&B record where the vocals are maybe kind of tucked in and they're more smooth, right? So you got to really think about LUFs as like a measurement of how loud the vocals are, how much the vocals are hitting. The mid-range is hitting the master. And I think a lot of people just think LUFs, they think that's how loud my record is. They think of crest factor, right? Which is the difference between peak and RMS, right? So where is your RMS information? Where's your peak? What's that difference? Oh, it's negative 3 dB. It's negative 5 dB. It's negative 7 dB. But LUFs are not weighted like that. LUFs are weighted for the mid-range only. So a lot of people that are trying to get these really, really high LUFs are like, yo, bro, I mastered my record and I got it to negative 3. It's like, great, that's going to cut people's fucking ears off. They're going to hate it because it's so loud in the mid-range. The mid-range is not necessarily where we want things all loud and proud all the time. Every record is different. Could you imagine like an orchestral piece with like really high LUFs? Like, oh, I got it to negative 4, man. That's not a brag. Stop bragging about it. Stop measuring LUFs. Go by what sounds right, what feels right in the record for your master. And maybe this is the most important to any of you new engineers out there that have been like mixing and mastering and doing this stuff for the last 5 years. You know, you're kind of newer to the game. 3 years in, you're like, man, I'm really getting this. Just graduated audio school. I've been there. I know what that's like. I thought I knew everything when I graduated sound school. Oh, I got a sound arts degree. So ridiculous. All right. Stop using your eyes to master. I love that all these like tips are like, stop doing this and stop doing that. But dude, you guys like literally, this is how you guys master now. You go into your bus here and you go to your Hawkeye or you go to whatever display and you literally just look at all this stuff as you tweak the limiters. It's like, what are you doing? Okay. Here's why that's a huge issue. Most people right now that are mixing and mastering at home in project studios, etc., they are looking at these meters thinking that these meters are the tell-all be-all, and they're measuring the LUFs and they're looking at the correlation meters and they're really thinking that they understand this stuff. But the biggest problem is that I'd say 75% of those people that are doing that right now in their project studios also have SonarWorks on. Which just cracks me up. They haven't tuned their room. They have huge, massive modes in their room, which means there's a ton of energy in the room in certain frequencies. And then they put SonarWorks on, right? They shoot the room and then they have SonarWorks boosting 12 dB of something, 6 dB of something. And I'm talking, oh, I'm missing 80 hertz in my listening position. So SonarWorks went and boosted up 8 dB or 12 dB or 15 dB. Okay, guys, this is the problem with that. SonarWorks will also give you a makeup gain on the meter, right? But the problem with it, the largest problem with it is that everything that you're reading is skewed. Okay? You cannot add dB and push information through the drivers, through the actual amps in your speakers, which, by the way, are stressing your speakers and wearing your speakers out because you're adding a bunch of dB of gain into those actual amps that are pushing the drivers. So your speaker is going to last a lot. They're going to feel it, right? But then you're taking down the dB, which means you're changing the curve completely of what you're doing. And then you're measuring LUFs on your output. Like, you guys, stop it. Stop using your eyes. Use your ears to master. Use your ears to mix. Use these meters just to check things like, oh, wow, I'm at a good spot right now. Let me see if I can bounce this and see if it translates everywhere. All right. You have to listen. You have to learn to use your ears. The biggest test I can tell you, and the biggest tip I can tell you to make sure that your mix is going to translate is play it over your cell phone right off the speakers. If you have even an iPhone 10, 11, 12, whatever, play it off the speakers and listen for any distortion and breaking up in the mid-range, because that's what typically happens with people that mix with their eyes. They don't understand that on smaller speakers, all that mid-range and all that high mid is just going It's just distorting small speakers. It sounds like absolute hell. And you're not paying attention to that. All you're paying attention to, oh man, dude, I got my LUFs to -3. It's so loud. Which gives me a little bonus tip for you guys. And maybe something that I think 90% of the world right now is overlooking in this mastering in the box thing, right? And it's hilarious to me. You're looking for loud records, but loud records, the only reason that that was even a thing ever was because we were printing to CD, okay? CD, 16-bit 44.1 audio. That's what we were doing, and we were trying to get it loud because when you played it in a CD player, it didn't turn it up or down, and when someone put that CD in, let's say you're at an A&R, a publisher, a label, you're playing it for them, and it's not as loud as the other CD, they go, whoa, your shit's not as good. Psychoacoustics, we think things that sound louder are better. It's just not true anymore. We are now mastering for the digital streaming world. Spotify, Apple Music, Napster, I don't know, Deezer, I don't know, like bunch of platforms. They all turn up and down the sound, okay? So that's a massive, massive tip for you. Stop participating in the loudness wars. It's not even a thing anymore. People don't care how loud your records are. If your record's really loud and the song doesn't call for a loud master, you're going to look like an idiot. People that listen to it are going to be like, oh, God, why is it so fucking loud? You're like, oh, see that? Sick, huh? It's loud. We're not mastering for CDs anymore. Unless you are. I don't know. You kind of lost in the times. That's it, guys. Those are my tips for you. I think these will help you a lot in making better masters, more modern masters for 2021 and beyond. We live in an age right now where these things are really important, you know? So first of all, subgroups. Use subgroups to master. That's how you're going to do it. Stem master before you hit your master bus with a bunch of limiting and isotope. That's going to make your records sound better overall. It's going to give them more dynamics, punch, width, depth, and you're going to get loudness out of them. Loudness that's good, that translates. Okay? Number 2, stop measuring LUFs. It is a measurement of how loud your mid-range is and your vocals are, and not every song needs super fucking loud mid-range vocal LUFs. Stop measuring them. They're not that important. I don't know who came up with that. Who decided to start telling you guys, like, you got to look at your LUFs? It's like I get these stupid comments all the time. Like, you guys are crazy. All right. And then last, stop mixing and mastering with your eyes, which means you're just looking at the LUFs and you're like measuring those and you're, look at, I'm just, whoa, -3 LUFs. I'm so loud. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're doing. All right. That's it. I love you guys. This is all about helping you guys. It's not about talking shit. But I'm really tired of all these things that are happening in mastering and people mixing and mastering their own stuff. So I wanted to help you out with this mix series. And if you want to go in more depth detail in mastering, I've done a whole masterclass on mastering. It's like about shaping the mix and getting the mix prepared for a great master and making modern masters and what LUFs actually are and why you use LUFs and how you measure them and how you even use these meters like the Hawkeye and all that stuff. Everything. How do you set up your master bus? What do you do with the master bus? Why is there an Oxford inflator on this master bus? Why is there a there's a Gullfoss on here? What is Gullfoss? All these different things. I cover it all in the Mastering Masterclass right here. Click that link, grab it. You won't regret it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Do all the things that I want you to do because I'm trying to do all the things that you want me to do. All right? Let's have a relationship here. This is not a one-way streak, even though I'm talking to a camera and not people right now. But I hope that this ends up in front of people. All right, get out of here.